I'm here at New York City Comic Con 2019 with Bill Stein. Sin-KEV-itch. Is that right? Sin-KEV-itch. Sorry.
That's okay.
I've seen your name forever. I've never had to say it.
It's just that. Oh, that guy.
But you know what? It's interesting you say that guy because your work is a singular achievement. I mean, when you see your Moon Knight runs and you see your, New Mutants, everything that you do, you touched Elektra, you leave your mark. I mean, it's something that I just have followed through my life. And again, my son is 12. He's rediscovering you. I mean, he's old school. He loves the old stuff, like your stuff from Claremont. And he loves that. So, what do you attest to your, just kind of this prolific,
Wow, I mean, well, the fact that, they still let me play in the sandbox with the toys is kind of nice. But I just feel like I've always loved comics ever since I was a little kid. And I just love the medium. I love the storytelling. Fell in love with comic book creators and animation and then got into film and then fine art, jazz, rock and roll. It was just sort of like all art kind of goes into it. And I thought comics are the place that my heart beats the most, and it's like, well, I'm going to see if comics can handle anything. So I'm going to pull in from all these other sources, from fine art and everything. And it's like the opposite of making pate. It's like I'm not trying to squeeze stuff down a goose's throat, because that's a horrifying image. This is more like it can actually handle it, and you're not killing anything in the process, So that's how I view comics and what I do with my style. Anything that I do in terms of any leaving any kind of singular mark that you mentioned, I think every artist does, but I just happen to have one that maybe it's been around a little bit longer.
Sure, and I mean, again, like with your, the stories that you tell, because again, comics is a very visual medium, but the way you would tell it would be more, it's like I saw in the prints that they had in your larger edition of, every panel is a painting. Every panel is kind of experience kind of the whole. It's like, I could see reading one of your books in a museum, just kind of walking around and just, taking that in. And again, and because there's such power in the way, when you do a splash page, it's a splash page, there's stray marks and there's flares going off and there's, it just really is fantastic. And you've had other, collections of your work before. What makes this revolution different? What makes this stand out?
Well, there have been other collections of my work that's been published in comics, and there have been one or two small art books, like a book of some of my watercolors or whatever. But this is actually the first book that's been devoted strictly to my work, and since it's going to be in 3 volumes. This one really deals with miscellaneous pieces and some sketchbook work. So a lot of more pieces I don't want to say necessarily would be called fine art pieces, but pieces that are kind of off the beaten track. Because one of the things that the reviewer Ben Davis mentioned was that he was trying to view my work from the context of a larger scope than just comic books. Because I've always felt that comics are an amazing art form, and they can reach as many people as film does, as literature. And so the idea that comics be more than just superhero stuff. I love the idea that they pitched to us, which is 6 foot press, that they wanted to treat it as art, and in some respects the cultural impact of comics and art, because it's like what I remember reading about when I was growing up about Norman Rockwell's doing just his Saturday Evening Post coverage, were they illustration, were they fine art? Was he capturing what America was really like, or was it his version of America only? But in a larger context, what he did at the time speaks of where we are as a culture. And I think in some respects, comics reflect that too. If you look at the creation of Captain America or Superman, and the era in which they were created, and what that meant to us as a species, So I know I'm going off on a long tangent, but it's like I sort of feel that their whole point of view was to try to put my work in the context of not just comics, but maybe it's in some kind of larger, global context where other art forms can go into comics, and not marginalized.
When they first opened it up and showed me, I thought of jazz. I thought of just kind of this experiential, interpretive, kind of experimental, your studies, and you had recipes there, and you had all kinds of, stuff, just kind of working things out. And again, my son, who, he's an artist, he loves to draw, and I always encourage him and says, well, look, you have to draw. If you love it,
yes, right.
Draw. Every day, draw. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it looks like.
Right.
Do it. Just get it out, because you have to experiment. And I would love to show him this, because he could see. It's like, look, you do studies. It's a study. It's like, it's not perfect. You know what? It's a study. It's fine. And you're going to learn from it, and you're going to interpret. So maybe that's a piece of this you can take, because I went to art school myself. Or maybe there's some. You know what? I'm not crazy about this, but I'm going to hold on to this because I have an idea that's going to influence something else I do later on.
Right.
So
Well, it's so true. And the thing about for me in terms of creating or drawing or painting or telling a story, is that the need to do a drawing is greater than the fear or the disgust when a piece fails. It's like a lot of people will happen, as I've seen this a lot growing up, is that someone will really want to draw, and they'll do a piece and they'll go, it stinks, and it's like, and they'll just give up. It's like, I think what separates those sensible people from the true obsessives is that it's like it stinks, but it's like having a bad habit. It's like I know all these track marks in my arm are not good, but it's like I'm gonna do it. But it's a healthier version of that. Let's put it. I have all these negative, directions I'm taking. It's like pate and heroin. It's like I don't think this is good for kids.
Good, bad. We don't deal with binaries. It's all.
You're talking to the Joker of non sequiturs here.
Speaking of Jokers, I saw your Joker in there, and I just kind of brought up all these things from the book. I mean, amazing stuff. And again, it takes me back to my childhood when I first started reading, and just looking at the panels again, reading the story. But I don't even have to read the story because it was so striking what was going on.
Right.
The actual words were just gravy, on top of it. So I mean, I really appreciate what you contributed to the medium and to art in general. I mean,
thank you so much. That means a great deal.
I really appreciate you, and thank you so much. Is there anything you would want to say? Well, first, if you could just say, William, keep drawing.
William, keep drawing. Not kidding. I'm not even kidding.
And also,
be prepared to not go out a lot. When you're, it's like when your friends are going out and you're having a good time, and you realize I'd rather stay in and work. It's like you'll look back at that and realize, okay, this is good. It's like you'll hate it at the time, but it's like no pain, no gain.
There you go. And just to wrap it up, would you say, what would you say to kids that are getting started, that kind of see your work and go, wow, someday maybe, what kind of advice would you give to somebody that you're on the fence, they want to do it but they're not sure?
Well, it's like I think that if they're on the fence, then I'm in a weird kind of a way I can't really do anything for those people, because it's almost like if you're gonna take the dive, it's like when people say, how do I get into comic books, and it's like, look, if you're getting into it for the money, don't. It's like it has to be an obsessive need. So anybody who's on the fence is going to go into a line of work. It's like having a backup. Like when when artists growing up, my father's like, well, I just have one. I want you to have a career to fall back on. So he taught me electrical wiring, and so I could be an electrician at the very least. And it was like I learned it, but at the same time, any other job to fall back on, I made sure I was useless for absolutely anything else. Because if I had something to fall back on, then I would. Because nobody in their right mind is gonna. It's like gonna sit down and just like live the full extent of their life, under a fluorescent light. Although there are times when it's the perfect life. It's like.